Chapter 1: The Arrival. As I stepped through the imposing gates of the prison, my heart raced, a drum echoing in the hollow of my chest. The smell of cold concrete mixed with a hint of iron hung heavy in the air. Footsteps rang out, sharp and unforgiving against the polished floor, accompanied by the distant clanking of cell doors slamming shut, an ominous reminder of my reality. I stood still, taking in the stark surroundings, where fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows on the faces of my fellow inmates. Each man bore his own story, etched in lines of weariness and resilience. There were those who wore their pasts like heavy chains, and others whose eyes betrayed dreams long extinguished. I felt a mix of fear and curiosity, a silent promise that I would uncover the humanity beneath these hardened exteriors. This was just the beginning of my unwelcome journey into the depths of a world I never thought I'd know. Chapter 2: The Weight of Regret. In the dim light of my cell, the enormity of my choices presses down like an iron weight. As I sit with my diary, I can't escape the haunting memories of the night that brought me here. The echoes of sirens still play in my mind, a constant reminder of my desperation, a moment when I lost sight of who I was. Guilt washes over me in waves, mingling with anger at myself for the decisions that shattered my life and impacted others. Around me, the stories of my fellow inmates unfold. A young father undone by addiction, a man wrongfully accused, and a former soldier haunted by PTSD. Each tale, a thread woven into the fabric of this prison, evokes empathy within me. Through their struggles, I begin to understand that regret is not an anchor but a catalyst for change, sparking a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. Chapter 3: The Bond Begins. As the days blurred into one another, I found myself drawn to Mr. Thompson, an older inmate whose weathered face told stories of trials and resilience. Our first conversation unfolded in the dim light of the common area, where the walls felt less like a prison and more like the beginning of understanding. I nervously shared snippets of my past, and to my surprise, he listened intently, his eyes reflecting a depth of empathy born from years of regret. "Every choice has a consequence, Kellen," he gently admonished, his voice a blend of wisdom and kindness. As our friendship blossomed through whispered conversations over shared meals, I began to feel the weight of my isolation lift. Mr. Thompson's lessons became my lifeline, and for the first time in a long time, vulnerability felt like strength. Together, we forged a bond that would anchor me amidst the storm of incarceration, igniting hope where despair had once taken root. Chapter 4: Lessons from Mentorship. As days turned into weeks, Mr. Thompson became a pivotal figure in my life. His presence, a mix of strength and vulnerability, grounded me in a place where despair often reigned. In our dimly lit cell, he shared stories woven with wisdom acquired over 2 decades. "Listen, Kellen," he said, his voice steady yet warm. "The prison you live in starts within. It's not about the walls. It's about how you choose to confront your past." I hung on his every word, eager to absorb the lessons he offered. Mr. Thompson taught me that true strength lies in vulnerability, in allowing oneself to feel and express regret. Through our conversations, I began to see the beauty of shared experiences, how our scars could unite rather than isolate us. As our bond deepened, I understood that mentorship was not only about guidance, but also about the healing that comes from connection amidst adversity. Chapter 5: The Workshops of Hope. In the dimly lit workshop, surrounded by peeling walls, Kellen discovers a new passion for painting. The air is thick with the scent of paint and the low hum of creative energy. Each brushstroke becomes a release, allowing him to voice emotions that words often fail to capture. As colors blend and canvas transforms, Kellen feels a sense of freedom he hadn't known in years. He's not alone in this space. Fellow inmates gather, sharing laughter, stories, and inspiration. Together, they create a tapestry of hope amidst despair. One inmate, Marcus, plays the guitar, strumming melodies that resonate with their shared struggles, while another shares a poem that cuts through the silence. The workshop becomes a sanctuary, a haven where broken souls find solace through creativity. Kellen realizes that in this grim environment, art nurtures their humanity, sparking a flicker of hope that illuminates even the darkest corners of their lives. Chapter 6: A Symphony of Voices. As Kellen steps into the music workshop, the air is vibrant with creativity. The soft strumming of guitars and the gentle rhythm of drums set a comforting backdrop. Here, inmates gather like a family, sharing their stories through songs, weaving their pain and hopes into melodies. Kellen, shy at first, feels the pull of the music and picks up a guitar, fingers trembling with anticipation. Mr. Thompson, seated nearby, encourages him with a nod, reminding him that vulnerability can transform pain into power. As Kellen joins a circle of voices, he feels a profound connection with his peers. Each note resonates with collective longing, healing the wounds of isolation. Laughter and harmony replace the harsh atmosphere of prison life, creating a sanctuary where hearts can open. Through music, Kellen discovers the strength to express emotions long buried, solidifying bonds that transcend the confines of those walls. In this symphony, they are not just inmates, but artists reclaiming their stories. Chapter 7: The Dark Clouds of Violence. As the buzz of routine faded into hushed murmurs, the tension in the air thickened. Kellen sat in his cell, the distant shouts echoing through the concrete corridors, sending chills down his spine. A violent altercation had erupted in the yard, shattering the brief tranquility the prison had known. He felt adrenaline coursing through him, a cocktail of fear and helplessness. Lockdown was imminent. The guards scrambled to regain control as doors clanged shut, sealing them in their confined reality. Kellen's thoughts spiraled, recollections of his past choices flooding back. It was a stark reminder of the chaos that accompanied a life of desperation. The deafening silence that followed was palpable. In the midst of fear, he found himself reflecting on the fragility of life behind bars. Would he allow this moment to consume him, or would he break free from its hold? In this turmoil, Kellen realized that growth often arises from confrontation. Chapter 8: Confronting Inner Demons. In the aftermath of the violent altercation, Kellen sits alone in his cell, the weight of fear pressing heavily on his chest. The chaos from the lockdown lingers in his mind, and he grapples with the visceral reality of prison life, the uncertainty that shadows every moment. With trembling hands, he picks up his journal, the pages worn from countless entries detailing his journey. Guided by Mr. Thompson's wisdom, he writes through his turmoil, transforming fear into reflection. What must I learn from this? He asks himself. Each word becomes a step toward clarity, allowing him to confront the demons he kept at bay. Mr. Thompson's voice echoes in his mind, urging him to embrace growth amid adversity. Kellen realizes that the path to redemption isn't just about leaving his past behind, but about acknowledging it, understanding the fear, facing it, and emerging stronger. In this clarity, he finds the spark of resilience igniting within him. Chapter 9: Forgiveness and Healing. In the stillness of the night, Kellen's pen scratches fervently against the paper, a release for the swirling emotions within. He reflects on the burdens he carries, grappling with the deep-seated anger towards himself for the choices that led him here. Each word becomes a conduit for healing as he explores forgiveness, not just of others, but importantly of himself. Kellen shares vulnerable moments with peers, revealing the shared weight of regret that binds them. Through their stories, he learns that healing is not a solitary journey. It thrives in community. The conversations around forgiveness begin to shift his perspective, transforming anger into empathy. In these intimate exchanges, Kellen discovers that forgiveness does not erase the past, but paves the path for growth. As dawn breaks, hope seeps in, illuminating the promise of a new beginning, rooted in understanding and the strength found in letting go. Chapter 10: Nighttime Reflections. As the oppressive darkness envelops the prison, Kellen sits cross-legged on his thin mattress, pen in hand, pouring his thoughts onto the pages of his diary. The silence is punctuated only by distant echoes, muffled conversations, and the occasional clang of a sliding cell door. In these quiet moments, he confronts the weight of his fears and the flickering light of hope within him. Memories of his past flood his mind. They are both a source of pain and a catalyst for change. Kellen writes about the dreams that linger just out of reach, visions of a life beyond these walls where he can truly belong. He shares his aspirations, becoming an artist, mending strained family ties, and giving back to the community that once cast him aside. With every word, he carves a path through the darkness, illuminating his journey toward redemption. In this solitude, Kellen discovers that hope can thrive even in the bleakest of nights. Chapter 11. Preparing for Re-Entry. As the days grew shorter, Kellen felt the weight of anticipation and dread settle in. Release day loomed just beyond the horizon, yet his heart raced with uncertainty. He filled pages in his diary, mapping out plans for reintegration, a job at a local workshop, reconnecting with family, and seeking therapy to navigate the challenges ahead. Conversations with fellow inmates turned bittersweet. They reminisced about their shared struggles and dreams for life outside. Kellen found solace in their camaraderie, a reminder that he wasn't alone in facing the world again. In the quiet moments before sleep, he reflected on the lessons imparted by Mr. Thompson, how to embrace vulnerability and remain resilient. Each entry became a bridge from confinement to freedom, a testament to the man he aspired to be. With a heart full of hope and a tinge of fear, Kellen prepared to step back into the world, armed with the wisdom of his prison journey. Chapter 12. The Final Goodbye. As Kellen prepares for his release, a bittersweet weight sits heavily in his chest. In the communal area of the prison, he gathers with Mr. Thompson and a few close friends for a final farewell. The sense of camaraderie that has flourished in their shared confinement feels especially poignant today. "You've got what it takes," Mr. Thompson says, his voice thick with emotion, offering a reassuring nod. Kellen feels a rush of gratitude for the lessons learned, the laughter shared, and the solace found amid despair. Each goodbye feels loaded with unspoken promises. He knows these bonds, forged in hardship, will linger beyond the prison walls. As Kellen walks away, he turns back one last time, committing his friends' faces to memory. The finality of leaving tugs at his heart, but mingling with it is a hopeful resolve. He will carry these lessons into the world, determined to honor the connections that have shaped him. Chapter 13. Breaking Free. As the heavy prison gates creaked open, Kellen felt the cool breeze wrap around him like a liberating embrace. His heart raced as he stepped into the sunlight, blinding yet invigorating after years confined in shadow. The world outside was alive with colors and sounds that he had only dreamed of. Children laughing, birds chirping, and the distant hum of cars moving on a sunny afternoon. Each breath carried the weight of his past, yet a flicker of hope sparked within him. He turned back for a final glimpse of the prison that had held him captive, acknowledging the friendships and the lessons learned within those walls. It was a bittersweet farewell, a blend of sorrow for what he was leaving behind and excitement for the unknown ahead. Kellen's mind raced with questions. What would freedom mean? Could he truly forge a new path? With resolve, he took his first steps, determined to redefine his future and embrace the possibilities of redemption.